and who are the characters, and you sit down, you have a meal. That's amazing. Thank you. I want it at the house.
I don't think it's crazy. I think it's awesome.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the school committee meeting of September 19th. May I have an approval of the agenda?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Well, welcome, everybody. Do we have any comments from the public tonight? Yes. Could you come up to the microphone, Diane, please, if you wouldn't mind? Thank you. We make you go through an obstacle course before you get up there. Sorry.
Can I have one statement now that I have you all here? I would like to add to the agenda at some point, we have quite a few months to do it, but discussions about graduation, high school graduation for 2024, and probably 8th grade as well, since we're doing it.
Okay. Could you just state your name as well?
Diane Flaherty.
Thank you, Diane.
Right.
Thank you. Any other public?
You wouldn't have that dramatic entrance.
Any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Sure. Sorry, the superintendent's a bit disorganized today. Just wanted to share a little update with the opening, the first 2 weeks of school. Things are really moving forward smoothly, and I will say that everyone feels at this, I certainly hope I can speak for my colleagues in the schools, that everyone feels that this is the best start to the school year that we've had in a while. So it feels good. Hopefully it will continue that way. We're putting a lot of effort into that and making sure that our students feel supported and feel good to be where they are, and our teachers the same. I was able to visit all of the schools and pop into classrooms and see some great things going on. Students are definitely engaged, and they're digging in with their classroom routines and procedures. So it's been good to see that happening. The only challenges that we've had that have been more difficult than usual have been weather related, in that we had a very warm opening week, and at the intermediate school, unfortunately, the chilling system has been broken, and we have technicians who are working on replacing air compressors. It is taking longer than expected, but thankfully the weather has gotten a little bit better. So we hope that will be fixed and ready to go in the next few weeks. Transportation update. As you've already heard, we did have an unexpected resignation of one of our bus drivers, who was also the coordinator for the on-island transportation. So things were a little shaky last week, but our 3 remaining drivers, along with our bus monitors, have really been rock stars and have pulled together and made last-minute arrangements, put students on the correct buses. We've certainly shared the information via the Blackboard messaging system. And it has just been a little bit challenging with the weather, the fog. That certainly caused delays one of those days. But I would say since that first week, I think things are moving along. I have been having almost daily conversations with Cape Cod Collaborative, and it looks like there might be a substitute driver coming in for a few weeks until our next new bus driver will be able to start with us in early October. His date, the substitute driver is really any day. They are in the process of making that work. Hopefully it will, and he doesn't back out. But if he does, we are happy to know that hopefully by October 2nd at the earliest, we will have another bus driver. And I just wanted to take a moment, though, to thank our parents and all of our staff members, particularly at NES and NIS, and also special education, the special services department, for managing these challenges related to this abrupt change in one less driver. It has not been easy. So certainly I appreciate everyone putting in the time and being patient around these challenges. So I am very excited to announce that Nantucket Public Schools will be debuting its School and Community Pep Band on Saturday, September 30th at the home football game. The band is new and is directed by the Nantucket High School band director, Tom Pepard. And there will be a kind of a select group. I wouldn't even say select, more of a hodgepodge of musicians that will come together, and everyone is invited to participate. So even if you think you're not that good at your high school flute, then dust it off and come to the band. It'll be lots of fun. There will even be 2 violinists playing. You won't hear us at all, but I will be there certainly. And if the violin doesn't work, maybe they'll give me the triangle. So we'll see. But I want to thank Tom and all of the Nantucket Public Schools music teachers for their support with this. So, and I'm going to turn it over to Travis, wherever he is, to give a little update on fall sports.
I thought you were going to leave the part out that you were in the pep band, but a violin. I've never heard of a violin in a pep band, so
You won't hear it at all.
I'm
It's
looking
more
forward to
visual
it.
than anything.
So just real quick, fall season is definitely our busiest season. Everybody's excited coming in from summer. So with our high school, we have 8 programs, and with middle school, we have 5. So in the high school, we have field hockey, boys and girls soccer, football, golf, cross country, cheerleading, and girls volleyball. In the middle school, we have girls soccer, boys soccer, field hockey, cross country, and golf. So it's a lot. And Matt and I have been doing our best for the last 3 years to try to get the school year started off on the right foot, and we feel like we've done a pretty good job of that. To kind of piggyback off of what Beth said, or Dr. Hall, excuse me, with the busing, that has definitely impacted us. Not so much with our teams getting picked up at the school, heading down to the boat. It's more of the teams that are coming here arriving at 3 o'clock. So most teams, Monday through Friday, are taking the 2 o'clock steamship, get here at 3. So what's happening now is, with the lack of bus drivers, is they're getting picked up at 3:30, 3:45. The first day that Doug was gone, we had a team picked up at 4:15. We're supposed to start the game at 4. So they have been getting better over the last couple days. So we feel like we're headed in the right direction. So we're making it work. All the visiting teams are very understanding of the situation. So that's been a little hurdle for us, but we're making it work. Just so you guys have a understanding of how many fall athletes we have. Like I said, it's the busiest time. Right now, for our high school athletes, we have just under 240. And for middle school, it's just under 140 student athletes. So there are a lot of kids that are participating in athletics here at Nantucket, so we're pretty proud of that. And also real quickly, I don't know if you've seen, but we do have a new website. If you click on the athletics, let me just do it, why not? I didn't really have a lot to do with this, and my counterpart here, Mr. Matt Hunt, the assistant AD, did this himself this summer. Maybe not. Jen, no? Hang tight. No dice? All right. Well, take a look when you get a chance, but it's really impressive. There you go. So it's very user-friendly. So like I said, take a peek when you have time. I know everyone's busy, but he did a really good job with that. So I'd like to thank Matt Hunt for that. And real quickly, homecoming is kind of on the horizon. That's always a big deal. So that is set for the week of October 23rd. Saturday, October 28th is the actual homecoming day with all of the games. Boys and girls soccer, field hockey, and football are all scheduled to play the other island. Hopefully we can get a few wins on that day. Powder Puff is also very popular around these parts. That's scheduled for Thursday, October 26th. And I think maybe the highlight of homecoming week is going to be the Booster Club is hosting a bonfire and pig roast Friday, October 27th. So we're looking forward to that too. That's all I got.
Great.
Good.
Any questions, anyone? For Travis? Esmeralda?
No questions.
Tim?
How's cross-country doing?
They are 2-2. Yeah, there's I'd say about 20 kids total. Yeah. I think they just won today. JV football won today. The golf won today, so we're doing all right.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you, Travis.
Okay, just a few additional updates. Today, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education released the 2023 MCAS and accountability data for the state, which was embargoed up until today. This means that we, as a district, can begin to sort through our own data to determine some of the strengths and areas for improvement. On Friday, in a call with the state superintendents, the Associate Commissioner Rob Curtin shared that it seems like the achievement slide due to the pandemic is stopping, and that there are signs of recovery. Not immediate recovery, it's going to take a while for recovery to happen, but we're seeing a slowdown and a stopping of the slump, so to speak. Yesterday, the district administrative team got together to review that embargoed data that we had available. We did not have the state data yesterday, only our own data. So we did that basically in anticipation of the release of to the public today. At first glance, Nantucket is showing similar MCAS results as to what was reported by the state, but we do have to sort through things in more detail. We are seeing more of of trending in the same area of last year. We're not seeing a huge increase, but we do have some celebrations that we certainly will be sharing with everybody. Our rating for accountability shows that we are making moderate progress towards our targets and are not requiring any state assistance or intervention. So that's good news. All of the schools will be sharing these data with their upcoming data days, which happen at our next half day on September 27th. So after that, we will be able to compile all of our analyses, and we will be providing a very comprehensive report on MCAS and accountability at our first November meeting to you. So that's it about MCAS. I will just add one more thing, and I'm happy to take questions. We do have a student representative. She was unable to make it today. Her name. Oh, she is here. Hello. This is Bruna Genzura, and she is a senior. Welcome, Bruna.
Welcome.
You get your own microphone, and very happy to have you here. So welcome. We're very excited. We also have heard that you're a Portuguese speaker, which is very exciting. And we're just thrilled to have you with us this year. You get to provide us with any updates that are going on at the high school or around the district. So you'll always have a little report at the end of our school committee meeting to share.
All right,
But
thank
welcome.
you.
We're very excited to have you here.
Yeah, lovely.
And that's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Any follow-up questions?
No.
Dr. Howard? No? Okay, moving on, we have the district leadership team. We're going to be presenting on the conference, on the MSAA conference.
Thank you. Are we ready?
No, your ducks in a row.
Good evening. Michael Horton, Cyrus Pierce Middle School Principal. It's my honor to hit lead off tonight. As always, I want to thank Dr. Hallett and the school committee for supporting what has become an annual tradition. This is only my second year attending the Massachusetts School Administrators Association Summer Institute, which is comprised primarily of assistant principals and principals, a few directors, up in Plymouth, Mass this year. I want to just checking the numbers. I believe Jen Saradell's Manny Vassal. How many years have you been attending?
Me?
Yeah.
22 or 23, something like that.
So Manny Vassal, 22, 23 years. I believe you're on a board, part of MSAA.
Summer Institute Planning Committee.
Summer Institute Planning Committee, and Jen Sardells, how many years for you?
Well, I'm 12 as a member of MSAA, but I've been going to the Summer Institute for 6 years, and I'm a member of the Assistant Principals.
So Jen Sardells, 12, and some other events. Any other numbers beat that? Deb Daly?
Well, I'm 20 years, and a former middle school MSA middle school principal of the year.
Right. So somehow with all that experience, with my second year, I end up going first.
Because we have experience.
The keynote speaker this year was Adam Welcome, former teacher, assistant principal, principal. His message was, the time is now, okay? There's work to be done. He talked a lot about everything is contagious, okay? That's the good and the bad, so keep that in mind. I bolded this next one here, that kids deserve us at our best. We've all entered this profession knowing what it takes to take care of others, and sometimes many of us put others in front of ourselves and our own families, but this is what we signed up to do. Kids need us at our best. Education is a team sport, that's no surprise. I love this one. Sometimes administration just needs to get out of the way. Trust your staff. Your staff is skilled. Your staff is talented. Your staff might know something better than you do. You're not the expert on everything. Your staff might have better ideas. So sometimes just, that shared leadership model is important to remember. One of his quotes was, "I did what I needed to do and empowered everyone else to do what they needed to do." Work on not leading 1 year 25 times, but lead for 25 years. That speaks to growth. You just don't keep repeating the same year. I do this in September, I do this in October. That you look at the long range plan of your school and your district. And my personal favorite that I've said, and Adrian can attest to this, probably 5 or 6 meetings already, where we're starting is not where we're going to end up. So I'm going to start off a conversation or start off with an idea. I know it's not where we're going to end up, but just to get things moving and going, and then it gets into a better group collaborative conversation and eventual consensus and solution, or at least ideas for possible solutions. He is really technology based, fascinating as a reminder of how fast things are moving for our kids. Sure, we've talked about social emotional. Sure, we've talked about social media, cell phones, technology, platforms out there. But these few quotes here just was a really good reminder of how fast the world is moving for our kids. The schools can't go out of business, but they can become irrelevant. We have to adapt and change ourselves. If people are bored, yes, it's public education, free and appropriate public education, but if you're not up with the times, you're not preparing kids for that constant changing future that's out there. Kids are fearless learners. I love this saying of they hover and click. I've seen it. Adults are. I don't want to touch that because I don't want to screw it up. That spreadsheet. There's no save button. Okay, it saved itself. Relax. But kids hover and click. It's a trial and error thing. That's a good way to learn. They're fearless learners. And something we work a lot about last 2 years is student voice. We've talked about that a lot with our DLT work with Katie Novak, with our district improvement plan. Where's the student voice? How can we get our students more involved, especially at the middle school and high school? I remember going to an ASCD conference back in 2005, 2006 with Dr. Colley, and that really changed my life as an educator. I've only been in the field for probably 4 or 5 years as a math teacher, and that was my first experience about how important education is, what administrators offer, and looking to the future. And Tim Westerberg, who is a principal out in Colorado, talked about we are preparing students for jobs that don't exist. Okay, this is back in 2005, so oh my God, that's 18 years ago. We are preparing students for jobs that don't exist yet. That's daunting thought. Adam Welcome said those jobs now exist. Okay, so you need to stop and think. You know, there are jobs that pay $200,000 to operate drones in different parts of the country. Okay, whether it's over oil fields or crops in the Midwest. Obviously, here in Nantucket, we all see it with real estate agents. You know how much someone is skilled enough to operate a drone can make a pretty good living. We know all the computer coding and programming. He showed us pictures of Walmart and Amazon. I mean, Amazon's not on the moon yet, but it's going to happen, okay? So that these automated systems to pull things off, yes, it's replaced some jobs, but it's all for quality of life, that there are other new jobs where people have to program those robots and maintain those robots and write all the code that's fascinating for a lot of our kids to get them to go down the aisle 5, find item 17, and put it into bag B. You know, it's just amazing, amazing stuff. And as much as, you know, it's distracting to our kids, there is money to be made with social media. There are beyond public relations, communication experts, but there are now social media managers for almost every company in the world at this point. That is pretty good, well-paying jobs. A lot of these jobs, you know, and Arnie Duncan had it right, you know, 10, 15 years ago, that we're preparing kids for college and career. Some of these jobs don't necessarily require a college education, and that is fascinating and a good reminder for us that we're preparing kids for an ever-changing future. That was kind of the second half of his welcome after some of these first few quotes that I picked up on. Reflections and takeaways. Batting second tonight are Mike Trout, Ronald Acuna, right? Is Acuna second? Beth Healy.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Mr. Horton. My presentation's much shorter, but what I wanted to talk a little bit about is my role, as has been pointed out. MSAA is a school administrator-based association. My affiliation continues because some of the great professional development they offer. One of the focus areas in sessions that I attended was on focusing on social emotional learning needs and student empowerment. There are two separate organizations that are actually partnered in this situation. One is the JED high school program, and one is called Kyle Cares, about the Kyle Johnson Foundation. I'll get to that in a minute. What attracted me to attend this session was a lot of what I had heard prior to them presenting. And what the JED Foundation does is they contract with school districts, and there are several in Massachusetts and across the country that they contract with. And they come in and do an assessment of the social emotional learning programs and partners that school districts have. And they really comprehensively put together a plan of what it all means and how they all fit together. I am incredibly proud of the work that we do on Nantucket in meeting the needs of our students, always knowing we can do better, but having an outside lens to help us focus on how we get there is important. We spend a lot of time piecing together solutions, and we're going to hire this program, we're going to have this contractor, we're going to create this position. And it seems overwhelming at times, with always the focus on kids and how to make things better for them. So that was one of the presentations within this that really attracted me, and they've done some great works in high school as a result of it. It is actually focused just on high school at this point. Partnered with them is the Kyle Johnson Foundation, and Kyle was a Massachusetts high school athlete who did commit suicide, and the father of Kyle Johnson presents on his story, his family story, and the foundation that they developed to provide student empowerment and how to support each other during the day, throughout the school year, in the off seasons, during the summer, in what they do. And one of the things that they do during the course of the year is have a summit at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough to get all of the groups together in all the high schools, and they provide a lot of media props and banners to hang in high schools. And really, it's a student organization that kids choose to be a part of, but then the foundation also supports it with grants for, you know, if they want to do some kind of a spirit day, if they want to do giveaways, but they also provide an educational component, which is great. So, and as far as the education piece formalized, it's not curriculum, it's not a course, it's just being able to empower more students and to create student voice. So when I brought this back and met with Sherry Lewis, our coordinator of student support in SEL, I mean, we're both on board for this. We're just currently trying to find a funding source on how do we bring it in. Again, we have access to a lot of funding in special services, but it's used for pretty much everything we do. So we are still trying to figure that out, but it is something that we are pursuing, and it was my general takeaway from the conference. So thank you. And up next, I don't know the baseball terms well enough to say it's Miss
Number
Alvinson.
3, Babe Ruth. Where's Martin when we need him? I am a Red Sox fan, though. So, Kim Albertson, the assistant principal at NES. That I can. Of course I can. So, what spoke to me after Adam Welcome did his opening was really that whole idea of time is now. And this presenter, Anita Mecklenburg, spoke to me perfectly because she was really into the Wizard of Oz. So everything was like a journey and what's going on, and you kind of know people, but you don't. And bottom line is, her whole message was truly that you have to feel safe to feel okay, to try and maybe fail. And so the theme throughout, I think, the whole conference was you got to keep trying. And to quote one of our favorite tech people, Linda Ferrantelli, used to say to me, "It's science, Kim. Keep trying, keep trying, keep trying." And I'm like, okay. So I go to the conference to kind of hear from other people, and this really spoke to me because the perfect imperfections are really important to understand and know that it's okay. The other piece that came up for me was that idea of cooperation versus collaboration. So it's very hard in leadership to figure that out. Cooperation is, I told you, we have to do this. This is unfortunately part of what is mandated for us to do. The collaboration is, okay guys, we've got some really great ideas. Let's figure it out and go forward. So those are the things that I took away. And up is my partner in crime, Kimberly Kubish. The home run hitter.
4, batting 4. David Orton.
So I kind of continued. Last year was my first year at Kimberly Kubish, principal of Nantucket Elementary School. Sorry. I kind of wanted to stick with where we were last year and continue to move forward in building culture, but also working on collaboration. So the other keynote speaker at this conference was Allison Apsey, who I kind of followed her around at the conference and went to lots and lots of her sessions. And she is a former teacher, principal, and she has a website, Serendipity in Education, and that just brought me back to we love what we do. And so I've shared it with other people. Donna and I were texting a few weekends ago, and I gave it to her, and she just had some really great ideas. And most of her sessions were all about taking care of the people who are taking care of the most important people, our children. And so part of that is in alignment with what Kim just shared about collaboration. And so in order to do the collaboration, we need to know who we are. So opening day, we did some work modeled after Brene Brown and in her book, Dare to Lead. And what we did was started with like at least 50 different values, and we asked all of our staff to look at the 50 values, narrow it down to 5. That was start with 10, then go to 5, and now identify your top 2 values. And then we took those and every person painted it on a small canvas, and there are samples of the canvas in the picture. And these are tucked up right next to the teacher or staff member space. So that way, as you walk around our building, you will see those signs that help us understand who the person is. And that then helps us to know how they come at things to solve problems and how they, what matters to them most. And an example that was given to us in one of these sessions was, it was a leadership team meeting, and a principal kept trying to add more staff. and more programs. And the financial manager was at the table, and he shut down. Wasn't responding, looked cross, arms crossed, very frustrated. Well, come to find out, financial safety is very important to the financial manager. So that's how he was approaching this Santa's wish list of things that the principal wanted. But that's important for all of us to know so that we know how to work together. So I have loved it, and I love walking around, seeing them all outside of people's classrooms, and it's fun to look at them in a way of, oh yeah, I totally get that about you. Or, oh wow, I didn't know that at all. That helps me to know. So we're defining who we are so that we can work together more effectively. Thank you. Up next, Jen.
I don't have a particular slide, but whenever I go to Summer Institute, I'm always looking to talk with my colleagues to see how they're handling behavior at their schools. And behavior is oftentimes a big topic, especially coming out of the pandemic. We have had lots of conversations about behavior, particularly targeted at the high school in the last couple of years. And so in talking with my colleagues, one thing that I have learned is that many of the issues that we've dealt with here in Nantucket are issues that other schools, not only in Massachusetts, but across the country, are dealing with. And so I don't know that I find much comfort in that, but at least we know that this is not a Nantucket issue. This is a student issue. This is a culture issue. And so in talking with my colleagues, I'm always interested in how they are building a culture of care in their schools. And Tracy and Mandy and I are committed to building a culture of care at Nantucket High School so that we can work with our students to feel connected and invested, not only in their school and their academics, but in the school building, so that we can help minimize behavior. And so we have brought restorative practices to Nantucket High School, and so I was talking a lot at Summer Institute about, with my colleagues, restorative practices that they're using in their school. And how are we building relationships with kids, proactively building relationships with kids to help minimize the behavior, but then also, due to new legislation, how are we reactively dealing with the behavior once it happens? And so we know that when students are sent out of class to the front office, when they are suspended, whether in school or out of school, we are withholding education from students. And so really taking the time to think about, how are we disciplining students? And I don't like to use the word discipline. I usually use process behavior with students so that they can come to a place of accountability, and then a restoration, some type of restoration. And so we were excited over the summer to have some professional development and restorative practices, and I also spoke with my colleagues at Summer Institute about their restorative practices, and so we're hoping to build a culture of care at Nantucket High School this year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Tracy Maylew, I'm Jen Saradellis, one of the assistant principals at Nantucket High School, and this is my colleague Tracy Maylew, our other assistant principal at Nantucket High School.
Like Kim, I was taken by Allison Apsey. I followed her online for quite a while. And she was somebody whose voice I didn't always like in chats online. I wasn't sure how I felt about her. Seeing her live and in person was powerful for me. It was quite interesting, the different perspectives from the same messages. She infuses everything with humor, which is good, and she talked about that collaboration does not always mean a committee, that it's human nature to be like, oh, we need to form a committee, we need a subcommittee, the subcommittee needs a subcommittee. And she's like, no, just working with your peers and colleagues is collaboration. Her keynote, she did a couple sessions after her keynote. One of them was specifically on staff meetings, and in her building, she calls them collaboration time. She focuses on, and I feel like that the message has been out for a while, that if it can be an email, it should be an email. We shouldn't be having meetings for the sake of having meetings. And she wants her staff meetings to really send the message that everybody is needed, and what teachers want when they leave a faculty meeting is an idea that they can work with students, use with students right away. And I took that, I think Adrian and I have worked pretty closely over the last couple of years with Mike to have staff meetings where people are engaged and involved and interactive, and I really felt like validated hearing a lot of what Allison had to say about her staff meetings, and left with a treasure trove of new strategies and ideas to try and bring to the high school, which I'm excited about. She also mentioned, we always hear about John Hattie and the effectiveness of different strategies, and the most powerful impact is a collective teacher efficacy, and it's a team versus a group, and how teachers work together, and using our staff meeting times to really push that. One of the things, Vision of a Graduate, was not Allison Apsey, it was John, I just spaced his last name, from Nipmuc in Central Mass, and his assistant principal, and it's new to the high school. I wanted to glean some NEASC knowledge and talk to people what their visions of graduates were. And one of the things that I really took away from their presentation was, in their school, at Nipmuc High School and their district, it's a portrait of a learner, and they start in elementary school, that when the high school has come up with their vision for what we want our kids to leave our district with, not just their high school, but their district. And you have, like, I know on our website at the high school, we have different, like a rubric of all the different characteristics. And at Nipmuc, in their district, they start that in elementary school. They share those characteristics because it's not the portrait of a high school graduate or a high school student. It's our vision of the learner as a whole, from pre-K on up. And they start teaching the kids pieces of that rubric so that when they get to middle and high school, it's ingrained in them. This is how we want to be. And I thought that was a really interesting take on that whole NEASC perspective of, we just throw it at 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, and they're like, where did this come from? But really building it from the ground up and empowering the community to see it. So those are my two big takeaways. I did put a couple slides in because I'm like the picture fiend. These were from Allison's presentations on caring for ourselves and collaboration, which Kim mentioned, and teacher staff meetings. So this top left, she talked about people were feeling, when we've had this culture of people feeling unsafe in different climates, she really focused on how she makes her teachers feel safe and wants them to be safe at school, that we have to take care of ourselves before we can take care of others. Communicating is the key, and a lot of those bullet points on that slide spoke to me. It was a lot of what I hear as being responsive classroom trained. It's a lot of what I heard Dana Kendall share with us in our restorative practices training this summer and in the August day with our staff. And since communication is the key, I really walked away as somebody who has always worked excessively to the detriment of her own health and personal well-being. Modeling self-care is like, the email on the weekends thing, I know people think it's touchy, but when she gave all the reasons why, and the bottom line was, it makes your Monday morning better. When people open up an email on a Saturday, they already start stressing about what Monday, Tuesday is going to happen on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. And it's not that I can send it and they don't have to read it, but if I'm modeling self-care, and we've been preaching to our staff since COVID started, take care of yourself, take care of yourself, it is reflexive that if your superior sends an email, you need to answer it right away. So for us to model that self-care, we really need to start being pretty judicious about when we're sending emails, and that schedule button is critical. That was me. And Mandy Bass?
Thank you, Mandy Vassell, principal at the high school. And yes, I have been attending this conference for quite a few years. I think one of the things that I like most about attending the conference is, I'm going to kind of tag along with Miss Sarah Dallas, is the connections that we make with administrators from other schools. It's very affirming when you talk with them and find out that what happened last month or last semester in your school, they were dealing with the same thing. So it's not you're not, well, pardon the pun, but you're not really on an island. So it's very helpful. What I most like about the conference are the pre-conference sessions that they do. And I really like going because they're longer than the normal 60 to 75-minute sessions, and you get more information. And the one that I attended this year was called Promoting Resilience and Healthy Outcomes for LGBTQ Students. I think so often that we talk about diversity and we talk about cultural diversity, and we forget that there are other ways that our students are diverse. And it's one of the things that I took away from Jeff's presentation this year. Jeff Perotti was one of the initiators of the Safe Schools program for Mass DESE. Jeff and I have worked together off and on for, I want to say 12 years at least. He is amazing, and he is definitely a go-to person if you have questions about LGBTQ students, transgender students, non-binary students. So he is the person that has really brought the state along, and I think it's really important for our students. We do have a population of those students. All schools do. And they have to be heard as well as all of our other students. And it is a state regulation that all students have equal rights regardless of how they identify. And probably the most important thing that Jeff said, that I looked at Jeff and I went, well, that was the whole reason for me coming here. He said that we need to say to our teachers, they need to ask themselves, do you light up when your students enter the room? And if you're not doing that, then maybe you need to start reconsidering your profession, because that's what we're here for. We are here for our students, and we are here to recognize all of their differences culturally, their sexual orientations, their thought processes. I have lots of students that don't agree with the way I think, and we have great conversations, and I encourage that, because I think that's the only way that we help them to develop as strong individuals and strong adults that will become productive citizens of our community. So thank you. Thank you for supporting our attendance at the conference.
I'm guessing that's going with the last one. There we go. Hi, I'm Becky Janda. I'm the principal at Nantucket Intermediate School. And this is the first time that I attended the conference, which was interesting because I've been an administrator for 17 years and had never been invited or allowed to go. And so it was really a great time for me, not only to just meet other colleagues, but to meet my Nantucket colleagues and spend some time together. And I would say that a lot of what I learned from them, and just hearing about Nantucket, hearing about them, feeling accepted by them, listening to what Mandy just talked about for inclusion and acceptance. I will tell you, having been in a number of different districts, that the most included I've ever felt, the most I've ever felt like I belonged with the administrative team was with this team. So that in and of itself was just such an amazing experience for me. But the workshop that just struck me the most was the Improve Your Workflow with AI in School Leadership, ChatGPT and AI, Why Let Students Have All the Fun. I thought it was a great title, and I love going to something that I don't understand that well. And instructional technology is incredible and has so many capabilities of supporting our students at all levels. And when we talk about inclusion and we talk about breaking down barriers, technology has that ability to do that. And when we look at what AI can do, I think that we have to really look at not just what can it do for students, but what can it do for our teachers. And this was about that. It was about looking and using these tools in a way that really supports you, and not kind of just saying those are the kind of things that are going to make education obsolete, because that's just not true. When we talked at the very beginning of this, Mike was talking about how we are trying to educate students for jobs that we don't know about, and this just falls in line with that so much, that we can't be afraid of it. We have to learn it, we have to embrace it, and we have to bring it to our students, because they're going to learn about it. And if they don't learn about it from us, then they're going to learn about it in a different type of way and not be able to use it. But also 21st century learning, we know that one of the main things that they want, and there's 4 C's they want, but critical thinking is one of the hugest things. And when people think about AI, they think that that's a loss of critical thinking, but instead can be used in such a powerful way to say, put in all of this and see what you come up with, and now critically analyze that and see what works for you. We can put in things and come up with faculty meeting agendas that are time savers, but then I have to go through and I would have to say what actually applies to Nantucket Intermediate School, and then critically think about how is it that I'm going to present that. And so I think if we can teach students that, I think that would be an incredible thing. ChatGPT is not the only one. It's just, I think, the first one that came with all the controversy. But Bard is incredible and comes with Google, and it does the same thing, and it's updated. Where ChatGPT has to be loaded new information, Bard is up to date. So I think that these are really cool things that we need to start looking at, and not just because it was fun, but because I think our kids need to do that. And as Mike was saying, I looked at a job that was posted, $250,000 for somebody who could be working on an AI program, and that was regardless of your college education. And to me, I think that's an incredible responsibility that we have as educators, to learn this and get out in front of it and not be afraid of changes, but say we're going to do them with a critical eye. So that was one of my biggest takeaways.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great presentation. Laura, would you have any questions or comments to everybody?
I don't have any questions, but this is, I said to Kim earlier, and I meant it, it really is my favorite meeting, because you are all so enthusiastic coming back with all of this rich professional development, so I'm excited for you all and starting the school year, so thank you. It was a great presentation.
Esmeralda?
No questions other than a great presentation. Thank you.
Chantal?
I have nothing to add. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
It's just interesting to see you're enthusiastic about it, so it's very positive.
No comments. No, it's great. I just feel like I was just there with you. It's wonderful, and I think, and I love that. Do you light up when your students walk in the room? That speaks to me. But for everything that you've all said, I mean, it's just it's wonderful. So thank you for sharing that with us. So next presentation is going to be our summer programs report with Taylor Murphy and Kara Evans. I don't have all of that on that presentation.
No, we didn't. In our handouts?
Yeah.
No, we didn't.
Okay.
No, there was more. There was a lot more.
I'm not sure why this is so slow.
Pictures?
Just the last one, the last Mandy slide, wasn't it?
While we're reading, I am Taylor Murphy, now Taylor Fassey, 1 month married, and I teach kindergarten during the year, but summer, one of the summer coordinators.
My name is Kara Evans. I am, during the school year, a special ed liaison at Nantucket Elementary School, and I'm also one of the coordinators this summer.
Wonderful, welcome.
Jen, can I refresh? Did you try refreshing? This year, one thing we did differently was we were hired as separate coordinators, but we did a lot of the work together. So last year we had 3 separate coordinators, one for Title I, one for Title III, and one for ESY. And this year, Kara and I decided, the positions were combined, and then we decided just to do all of the work together. So that's something we did differently.
Yes, and it worked out. So, of course, our goals for the summer programs are to maintain learning that they made from the previous school year, as well as to provide enrichment, and also to make learning fun. When kids hear summer school, they're like, so we wanted to kind of make it a little bit more fun for them and to make it enjoyable. and have a great experience. We also allowed for great opportunities to make connections with the community-based activities and the curriculum. So we will go into that in a little bit and how we did that. So our numbers were a little bit smaller this year. We still had our ESY program, which is our special education students. They attend ESY. They have to qualify. They have to show regression during the school year, and then they're able to qualify for summer school. So that number seems to stay the same because it's pretty much our same students, and that's from pre-K to our transitioning program at the high school. So Title I, we were only able to have 44 students. We did invite a lot, as well as our Title III program, we only had 31. So what was a little bit different this year as well is that we were only able to go from K to 5, and we did have a Title I program and a Title III program that was in the middle school, but we were only able to have that to the period this year. So that also contributed to our numbers, as well as busing, which we will go in a little bit, and hopefully we weren't able to provide busing at the beginning when we did the invites, and then we were able to get buses, which we were very thankful for. So hopefully we'll see a difference in those numbers next year when we are able to hopefully provide busing from the start of invites when they go out. Also, we had 45 staff. It was very exciting this year. Last year we had a lot of people that came on island. This year we were able to hire only mostly staff in district. We did have couple teachers that did come off island, and we were thankful for that. And honestly, they were a great staff to have us work the program, and we couldn't have done it without them. They did an amazing job, so we really truly want to thank them because they did a lot of the work. One of the feedbacks that we did get about the class sizes, though, while you can read about this, but they were smaller. We were able to have support teachers in there as well, so it did provide more attention for students. So it was a great feedback to hear.
Even though our class sizes were smaller, attendance was more consistent than last year. So the students who did come were there every day, and not just saying this, they were excited to be there and for what we had planned.
With the feedback that we received last year, we did continue with our Hands to Mind math program. It is a great program with a lot of hands-on activities. This year and last year, we saw growth in the students, so we continue with that math program, and teachers were very happy.
Teachers even used it during the year last year.
Yes.
They liked it so much that they took it and they were using it in small groups and interventions during the year.
And our big component that we had this year that we added, which I'm going to have Taylor describe, is Lit Camp.
So this was a resource Mandy Bardsley actually found and brought to us at the beginning of our planning, and was asking if we were interested, if we thought the teachers would be interested, based a lot, I think from a conference she had attended or some sort of from another district that was using it, but also based on feedback from last year. Last year they did a lot of thematic learning, creating the units as they went, and teachers, it was a lot of work on teachers. So this is a break for teachers too, even though they're still working, they felt it was a lot of prep work to think of all these things. So this was a hope that this would be a resource for them to use that was still, had the flexibility, but also gave them an idea of scope and sequence and a resource. So within the Lit Camp model, they had the blend of social emotional learning, literacy skills, and engagement. They had 7 strengths, and each strength had different components within each lesson. They would spiral, so they'd touch on one in one lesson, and then they'd come back to it in a different lesson. The teachers all got the supplies that they needed handed to them, which they thought was really helpful. They thought it was really beneficial to have the books in their hands. One of the really cool things was that they had a different book each day in the lower grades, and then they had chapter books and picture books in the older grades, but they would work on it as a group, and then each child got the book in their hands after. So in the lower grades, they'd read the book as a class, they'd work on it, and then that child got the book in their book box. The older kids, they were working on the chapter books if they wanted to, or supplementing with the picture books if that made sense to them. Some classes also use summer reading books too. So there was resources available as much as the teachers wanted, but there was also that choice, which I think we value them as professionals and trusted them to do.
I also want to touch on that this program was also not, we did get for our Title I, Title III students in mind, but was also able to be across all the programs. So ESY was also able to get these materials. So it kind of brought that community together of all three programs. And we also loved that it was a camp theme. So again, bringing that summer camp in and bringing that fun to learning back for summer.
That's why our presentation is camp themed.
Yes.
These were just some pictures from. These are some pictures from learning this summer. Different guided reading groups, different math groups, games. The kids, again, were hands-on learning with math tools and working in small groups and as whole groups, which were quite small too. And some more learning. So these were some of the comments from teachers when we asked about feedback and what they thought of the program. Again, they thought the picture books were great. They thought the selections of stories were really diverse and touched a lot of topics. And they thought it was a good balance of choice and having a resource and not having to create everything from scratch.
So when we did ask Title I and Title III to provide us with pre-test and post-test for math, writing, and reading. And from that data, we concluded that a majority of the students were able to show progress in all areas. A small number, and the rest of the students were also able to maintain progress without regression. So every student was able to make progress or stayed the same. So that was our goal. We were really happy about that.
Continuing, based on last year, field trips were a huge thing that was talked about last year. Everyone really loved the field trips, and we continue with those this year and expanded a little bit. So one of the reoccurring trips that the kids took was just to our community garden out with Sustainable Nantucket and Ella, and the grades were able to go over the 5 weeks. They went 3 separate times for a half an hour to visit, to see what's going on. They were picking lettuce and eating it. They really enjoyed working with Ella in that way. I think there's not too much more. Okay. Another field trip was with Mariah Mitchell. We worked with Jonelle again to go to the aquarium and the Natural Science Museum. And then with these trips, the kids are going to these trips and then they're coming back and they're making connections to their learning. They're writing about what they saw. They're reading books about different animals that they saw. One of the pictures in one of the prior slides was a 5th grader who had done a presentation about a fish that she had saw. So they were really making connections within the community, but also then to their learning. So it was meaningful for them. Last year we went to the Valley Museum. This year Maura had us going to the Old Mill, which was new for some of the kids, and they got to go inside. They got to make corn. They got to pull to make the windmill going. I don't know what that was. I didn't get to go, but they had a really fun time, and Maura is amazing. And then the Life Saving Museum was new this year. That was actually requested by some of the middle school students. They had never been there, so they requested to go out there, and we got to work with them to do a couple of the 4th, 5th, and then the middle school got to go. Thank you. And again, just some feedback, just so you know that we're not making all this up. Staff really appreciate the field trips. They said that it was really great connections for the students, and it's like a fun way to learn in a meaningful way that connects them to the community.
So this year, we had a summer school showcase. We wanted to show all the amazing work our students were doing between the field trips, with our lit camp curriculum, and also to bring parents in to be part of our summer school community. This was a great show up. We had it set up for arrival, and we took it down right after all the kids left. And parents, we gave them the opportunity to come and look whenever they could get over there. So it was well received. It was really fun to see how much work the students have been doing. And there's a couple photos of parents and projects that the kids showed.
They were really proud of their work. They were like dragging their parents over to point out what they had done, what their friend had done. It was a really positive way to end the summer.
Nice.
And some of the projects were absolutely beautiful.
And now we're frozen.
And now
because
we're
there are more
frozen.
slides. We can just say the takeaways though, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna peek up here. Oh, no.
I'll make it bigger.
Okay, carry on.
Thank you. Oh, right, okay, so, we're not going to read these for you, I know that people have slides, but this is just some of the feedback, that we got from staff. They overall said it was very organized, they thought it was a great connection to the community, and they appreciated the resources that they had this year. We had a couple of slides to speak to just the overall program.
And our takeaways this year, of course, our teachers appreciated the new curriculum. The bus situation settled before registration. We hope to have that kind of squared away for next year and increase our attendance, because we believe that was part of our issue with low attendance this year. Love this summer showcase. Would love to see that again next year. And positive feedback from staff. And I will put in that it was not as hot as last year. I did not receive any complaints from students this year, but it was hot, but not as bad as last year. And that's it. And we look forward to summer of 2024. And our dates next year are July 8th through August 8th. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Laura.
I think the camp model looks so fun and engaging, and just looking at these pictures, the kids, I think it takes the sting out of summer school, and the field trips, it just looks like a great program, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Esmeralda.
I have nothing else to add. Laura said it all.
Thank you.
Chantal.
Just nice job on making taking a month out of your summer fun. So can't imagine. So nice work, guys.
Tim.
Thank you.
Nothing to add.
No? Okay.
If I may.
Yes, of course.
Just wanted to thank you both. It's difficult to really be in charge of a program in the heat of the summer with the issues around buses, with the issues around combining programs, et cetera. And I just want to congratulate you both. You did a great job. So thank you.
I have a question, and I know in the presentation you identified transportation. Do you think that was the only reason, or the biggest reason that the numbers were lower? Just curious.
I think that was probably our main reason. I think our numbers definitely would have looked a lot different. We also had, we didn't have our middle school program this year because of funding. We lost our ESSER funds. So I believe that if we have those buses set at the time that we do the invitation, I think we will see a drastic increase next year.
Yeah. And did you have enough provisions for snacks? Because I know in the past when you've presented...
We did sort of a hybrid this year. We had the snacks available, but we didn't give them out as freely. So last year we thought they loved the snacks, but there was a little bit of waste because they weren't always being eaten. So we had them available if kids wanted them, and some did want them, and a lot brought from home. So it was kind of a hybrid, available if they needed it, but not.
Okay, but you had plenty.
Yes.
So, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I just wanted to pop in really quickly. Mandy Barza and I were the directors that kind of oversaw the program. And when I say the work that Taylor and Carrie did was exceptional, a great model of teacher leadership. right, in empowering teachers to be able to run programming. We did a lot of planning ahead of time, but they just ran with it and created an amazing program. So again, I would reiterate what Dr. Hallett said and just congratulate them on that. And I also did want to recognize some of the behind the scenes in planning, our facilities department, for being able to get us air conditioners at CPS that weren't even a question when we needed them, in creating solutions to create cooler environments within the buildings, technology, and preparing us ahead of time to be able to maintain everything online. And I know I'm forgetting other people, and our food services, Linda, being amazing in helping us to get it all together. But when in the past we've come up with these presentations, and the directors that have been involved have been part of the presentations, and it was great to not have to do that. I'm just going to be honest, because again, with empowering teacher leadership, I think it's so incredibly important to see, and they just did a great job. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Deb. Yeah, and thank you to both of you. Looks like a lot of fun. Okay, moving on. We've got the draft handbook updates.
It's just too much. Oh, I can go first. Who goes first? Is there an order?
You can decide however you'd like to go.
Great. You bet. Let's go opposite. Hi, Kim Albertson, Nantucket Elementary, assistant principal leading my crew. So we didn't have a lot of changes in the elementary handbook this year. The only one change that I would like to point out is we've changed our arrival procedure. Because through the work that we've done with Janine Fitzgerald, we've talked about first hour needs for kids. And so we're opening our doors at 7:35, and we're letting kids come in and kind of make choices for walk and talk, go to the library and do some quiet reading, do some coloring and organization in the cafeteria. But really, there were no other changes in our handbook. And the 2 pages that you would note would be, we added smartwatches to our cell phone policy. And that was it for us.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Kim.
We're really just gonna mix it up and not go in order at all, so.
I love that.
Rebels.
Adrienne Lombardi, the assistant principal at CPS. We had a couple of formatting changes, updating our CPS vision that we worked on over the summer with Katie Novak, and our core values. Our main one is our e-bike policy, and so I worked with Jen Sardellis and really kind of worked from what the high school has already established in their existing handbook, and wanted to be as in line as possible. So we have the same exact language, and just for shared information, just part of that process is really meeting with each individual rider and reviewing the expectations. They sign a contract, they receive a parking permit sticker. High school is blue, CPS is green, and so they're registering their bikes, they're all parking up front, but also just kind of going through kind of a little training with each administrator on what the expectations are. They sign a contract, and if they break those expectations or are disrespectful for an adult trying to enforce them, they might lose some privilege there, and that has been shared home as well. So that's kind of our major one. I don't want Mike to charge the stage, so I do want to mention that we are just working on shifting our expectations around food consumption that students are bringing in, just to healthier options, no soda, no candy, and just trying to kind of keep our eye out. Our middle schoolers often stop at Cumbies before they come to school, so we're just trying to monitor and communicate home if we're noticing that they might have stopped, parents might not have known what they picked up, and just trying to be better at communicating with students and our families about just healthier choices around our food options that they're bringing in. It's not what we're providing. We're just, it's not quite in the handbook, but just a little tightening around our cell phone policies as well. So all of our CPS classrooms are asking students to check their tech, either in a caddy that every room has or just kept away in their backpack. Again, kind of providing that student choice and making them feel like they have a say in where they are comfortable doing that, but making sure the phones are just really away unless a teacher is using them for part of a lesson.
Great. Can I just ask a question? Where is the middle school with headphones with kids, the usage?
If they have them on and they're using them in like as a device, it's just like within the classroom, but just like the phone, it's kind of like an extension of the phone. Same with the Apple Watch. So if they're in the hallway wearing them, we ask them to remove them. It can be a problem. So far, so good this year, but we do have teachers allow them to use them in classrooms. So it's just kind of it's not a crazy problem, I don't think. That we've had a handful of students that like to battle, but nothing wild. But we just consider it an extension of the phone. So we don't allow them, like, unless it's with teacher permission.
Gotcha. Thank you, Adrian. Any other questions for Adrian?
Did you address the electric bikes?
Yes.
But it sure seems to me that in the middle school, they're not old enough.
So we've checked with when we were doing our handbook work, we checked with Officer Thompson, and it is gray around. So originally, I think we were under the impression it's 16, but they aren't quite a motorized vehicle. They're electric, so it's like it's just gray from a law standpoint. So while we could say they're illegal, I have about 30 kids riding them to school. So we just want to make sure they're informed and they know what the expectation is. Regardless, they're going to bring them regardless. So that's just kind of, we're just trying to educate them and keep, my motto is just like, you just need to be smart and safe. So.
Do you say anything about helmets?
I don't.
I mean, I think I was seeing one of your kids that was probably going 25 miles an hour without a helmet.
Sometimes they look really good on the handlebar too, because they'll have them. We have them available. The Police Charitable is really generous with helmets and bike locks with students. And I would say, they also will be double riding, and, it's just, at this point, coming from me, I would imagine it's noise that they're not really receiving. So I just want to make sure that they're walking them on school property when they're on the sidewalks. We've had a lot of talk around the fields and the track and the playgrounds, and I just kind of say, I don't want this to be wiped out for you, but if you're weaving in and out of NES and NIS, areas, you're not going to be able to bring them. So I think we've seen a big improvement, at least in the morning. I think sometimes when kids leave their practices at like 5, 6 o'clock at night, they're a little disconnected to like, oh, this is school time. So we're working on it. It's a big step for us. We didn't have this in place last year, so.
I recognize it's a gray area law-wise, but I wonder what we could do as a school committee with the policy, whether we could maybe have a workshop to talk about this, because in the UK you have to have a cycling proficiency badge or a certificate before you are allowed to ride on the roads. And just watching the young, it's adults as well as our students, but we're just waiting for an accident or a death. And I would hate for us to wait until that happens for us to take action. And we know we've got kids who just, their brains are just not developed enough to know how to make decisions, whether they're on a bike path or on the road. So I don't know how we feel about putting a policy together that if you're going to ride your bicycle to school, you need to show that you've taken a proficiency test, and that could be an hour or 2 hour training on just the laws of the bike path and the road. Because we've got kids. I mean, I had somebody show up at the house today on one of those wheels, wheeler or whatever they're called. They go 30 miles an hour. It's insane. So we know this, and I just feel like it's our responsibility to put something in place. And if we could do a decal that goes on a bike so that you can see easily that student is driving to school but they've taken the test. I don't know, maybe it's something we could talk with Cassie.
I think we can hold back the tide too.
What
the
does that
problem
mean,
is
Dr. Lepre?
Parents have invested $1,500 to $3,000 in these things, and they're turning adolescents loose, pre-adolescents
I know.
loose on that. I mean, it makes no sense. The state won't do anything. The town can't do anything.
But we can.
If I may, through the chair.
Yes.
We'll put you in charge of it, Pauline.
No letters or emails.
I would be happy to find out from other districts if there are any policies in place that they've either created or discussion around electric bikes and bringing them onto their campuses. I do agree that it's going to be very difficult to put in place something like that, and that will create a sense of. I think it will make the administration become policing. You know, they'll have to police, which means it will again it will become a difficulty.
It's hard to police when they're out and about and
Exactly.
you're on foot. Unless we're gonna start cruising them ourselves. It's hard to catch. You know, we recognize faces so we can address them later, or if they're parking, we can walk over to them. Or next morning say, hey, I noticed. But it's infuriating and impossible to just get someone while they're whizzing by. But again, I do think that there's been improvement in the mornings for arrival, and we've got a lot of kids that are on them. And so, I just think the more we can talk with them about this, and I think we get further than just kind of like trying to create barriers, because they're going to do it. We just need to make sure they're educated in how they can do it.
If I may, we might be able to do something like a required 1 hour class. If they're going to have them and get the registration form, they have to go through a 1 hour class on bike safety, on electric bike safety. Something like that we might be able to put in place, so that then after that they have signed off on that, and they and then have something like that.
But remember, I did get a town bylaw passed that people were supposed to be wearing helmets.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that has failed.
Yeah, it's again, I think it comes down to the policing. We don't have the people to be able to deal with the infractions, which are many. So,
well, I would love us to have a conversation on the agenda around education on maneuvering and maneuvering an electric vehicle. Thank you. Thank you, Adrian.
Thanks, Adrian.
thank you.
Hello.
I'm Donna Johnson, Assistant Principal at NIS, and
Eddie Wilkin, Assistant Principal Intern at NIS.
so we don't have any earth-shattering changes this year. We've definitely updated a lot of the administrative roles. The letter at the front of the handbook. Much like Adrian explained, we redid our NIS vision to align with the district vision, so that's been updated on page 4. I think the other big changes, our students, through the responsive classroom methodologies, our students create whole school rules. And they did that last year, so we updated our whole school rules that are in the handbook. And we just, much like what Kim Albertson said, we updated our cell phone policy to say that students shouldn't be actively on smartwatches as well, which hasn't been a huge issue yet, but our students do really well with their cell phones, keeping them off and away in their backpacks. So that language is just in there. And just in terms of communication, we had a Twitter page, but I don't know many of our parents are really on Twitter, so one of the ways to kind of see what we're doing is through our Facebook and Instagram pages. So those were major changes.
Thank you. Any questions for Donna? Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you both.
If I may.
Oh, yes,
through
of
the chair.
course.
Just thank you to our sorry, assistant principals. There we go. They come together every year and look how and find the time to work together and look at how the handbooks align. We want to make sure that there is a smooth pathway from one building to the next when it comes to rules and regulations and handbooks. So I thank them for taking the time to do that. It's important that they are able to get together and find some alignment between schools. So thank you very much for that. Appreciate it.
I actually do have one question. It's sort of overarching. Do students sign off on the handbook? Are they required to sign off? No.
Ours is a family handbook. It's
Mhm.
really more for parents to refer
Right.
to. It's not really written
Right.
language.
Mhm.
But what we do at our school is really go into what our whole school rules are. Classroom rules, grade level rules, and school rules.
Thank you.
Chair, please.
Yes.
At the high school, what we do is the second day of school, we have each block, our teachers go over sections of the handbook. So by the end of the day, students have reviewed the entire handbook, and then they do sign a form at the end of the day to say that they have done so.
Nice.
And then it's sent, we send a link home to the parents and ask that they review it also.
Thank you. That's
Thank
great.
you. That's good. Great. All right, should we move on to votes? Okay. May I have approval, please, for the August 29 meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. May I have an approval for the September 5th meeting minutes?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Transfers and invoices, may I have a motion?
So moved.
May I have a second? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Subcommittee group reports.
I had a Cape Cod collaborative meeting last week, which I attended via Zoom. And of course, the bus driver situation. And Nantucket was acknowledged as being in the worst shape, which is nice. And then, though, this, on a happier note, I brought a little handout, the All Cape Professional Development Day on October 6th. So there's a lot of really great offerings. So be sure and take a look at that. Does the music still go off island to participate? That's great. Yeah, so that was largely it. Everybody was back together, but yeah, the bus situation. We're not the only ones, but ours is the most dire.
Agreed.
Mhm.
Had policies, have you met?
Not yet.
Not yet.
No. If I may, we had a date to meet with the diversity subcommittee, but we're still out of practice with getting our subcommittees posted. So this is new to us. This is the first time. This is really the first year that we've had to do this. So it had the date was coming, and we realized, oh my goodness, we didn't post with enough time. So that is certainly something that we have a new date on the books, and we will definitely be meeting and reporting by the next meeting. So. And policy, I will be reaching out to the policy subcommittee because we've got a couple of policies we need to look at. So I hope to do that in between our this date and October 17th. at least one time and potentially another time between October 17th and November 14th, because we do want to start going back into the manual and looking carefully at different sections. I think we have to work on the L policy, so that would be next.
All right.
Great. Any update, not to throw you in immediately, but any updates for the students?
No, I don't think so.
No?
Yeah, we're just starting off the year and nothing has changed much.
Everything's good so
Yeah.
far?
Yeah, in my grade at least, people were just thinking about college.
Yes. And the deadline for changing classes, or that's happened, right? That
Yeah, but I
2
think
weeks?
it's still going on because for the first week, they focused more on students that didn't have some classes.
Mm-hmm.
So students could still change their classes for the second or third week. For the
Okay.
second week, so that would be last week. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Sure.
I look forward to working with you this year.
Me too.
All right, looking at the
Oh,
agenda.
yeah, the open house. We
Oh.
have an open house on Thursday.
On
Thank you, Ms.
Thursday,
Bassel.
this Thursday?
Yes, this Thursday.
Oh, that's good, because I want to come to it. What time is that from?
It's at 6.
6 o'clock? 5:30
Sorry.
to 7:30. And that's this coming Thursday? Today's Tuesday?
Yes.
So this Thursday?
Correct.
Okay. All right, this Thursday, everyone. Great.
Boys and Girls Club
Thank
in
you.
your school.
Agenda for the next meeting, which is October 3rd, we'll
Yep.
get an update on the enrollment.
Yes. School, would you like?
No,
I'm
go
happy
ahead.
to. Our school resource officer will be sharing her presentation with us. We will include the high school handbook. And I just wanted to clarify, they definitely have more changes. So it's important that staff be apprised of those before we present it to school committee. So that was the reason for the delay in getting the high school. Student checking accounts policy, there's our policy. So we definitely want to review that because there's been a change at the state level. So we want to make sure that we have a chance to talk about that. Our community school will be doing their annual update, and advanced placement results will be shared as well.
Great, thank you. And then the one after the next meeting is a
Yes.
workshop, correct?
We
Or-
can make it a workshop. It isn't at this time, but there's no problem putting it into a workshop because then we will be able to review our MCAS scores. And
Yeah.
perhaps, if that's the only agenda item, we could also add the electric bikes to that as well.
Great.
So,
That wasn't
for the
what I was
14th.
thinking, but that would be, that would be terrific. All right, any other comments from any? No? All right, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Before you run away, can I go with you?
No, I'm-